In the heart of 1960s America, something was boiling just beneath the surface. The promises of liberty and justice for all rang hollow in neighborhoods where black families lived in fear, not of criminals, but of those sworn to protect them. In cities like Oakland, California, the police didn't feel like guardians. They felt like an occupying force, and for too long, there was silence. But then in 1966, two young men said enough. Their names were Huey Newton and Bobby Seale. And what they created would shake the foundation of American society, the Black Panther Party for self-defense. Huey and Bobby weren't just angry, they were brilliant. They were students, readers, thinkers. They saw how power worked in America, and they realized that black people couldn't wait for someone else to save them. Inspired by Malcolm X's militant pride and the community organizing of the civil rights movement, they envisioned something new, a political force that would protect black lives, empower black minds, and demand change, not with apologies, but with strength. Their mission was clear, and they wrote it down in bold, the 10-point program. It was a blueprint for justice. They wanted freedom, employment, decent housing, education that told the truth about black history, an end to police brutality, and they wanted it not someday, but now. These were not radical demands. They were basic human rights, long denied. And the Panthers were done asking politely. At a time when mainstream civil rights leaders preached nonviolence and gradual reform, the Panthers showed up with leather jackets, berets, and legally carried rifles. They weren't there to start a war. They were there to defend their communities, to watch the police, document abuse, and make it clear black lives would no longer be expendable. That image, young black men and women standing tall, proud, and armed, was electrifying to some and terrifying to others. But to truly understand the rise of the Panthers, you have to feel the frustration of the time. This was the era of Watts burning, of Martin Luther King Jr. being dismissed as too radical, of Vietnam drafts snatching poor black boys and sending them to die for a country that wouldn't protect them at home. Huey and Bobby knew they had to do more than protest. They had to build power, black power. And so they did. In the streets of Oakland, the first patrols began. Panthers would follow police cars, recording stops, informing citizens of their rights, and stepping in when brutality loomed. They carried law books in one hand, rifles in the other. It was bold, it was legal, and it was revolutionary. The media didn't know what to make of them. Some called them militants, others called them heroes. But for many in the black community, the Panthers represented something rare: pride, dignity, and a willingness to fight back against a system that had failed them time and again. Huey Newton once said, "The first lesson a revolutionary must learn is that he is a doomed man." He knew the risks, but he also knew that doing nothing was no longer an option. By the end of 1967, the Black Panther Party had become more than a local group. It was a national symbol. Chapters began forming across the country. The movement was growing, but with growth came attention, and not all of it good. The government was watching. The FBI labeled the Panthers the greatest threat to internal security. Plans were already in motion to dismantle what Huey and Bobby had built. But that's a story for another day. What matters most in this beginning is understanding why the Panthers rose. They rose because they had to, because their communities were under siege, because too many dreams had died on sidewalks and in back alleys, because America needed to be reminded that freedom isn't something given, it's something demanded. In our next chapter, we'll dive into the striking image of the Panthers, the leather jackets, the berets, the guns, and the bold statement they made just by showing up. Until then, remember, behind the headlines and the fear, there were real people, real pain, and a revolutionary belief that justice could not wait. If you found this story meaningful, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who still remembers the fire of the 60s. We're just getting started.